Hot breath. Start here. Start talking?
Yeah.
We're talking? We're talking. Well, all right. Let's do it. Let me get you some water, by the way. That's for you, buddy.
Hot breath?
Hot breath water.
You're really into branding. Holy shit. Is this called hot breath?
It's called Fontis water. They're like a spring water.
No, this podcast, I mean.
Yeah, it is called hot breath, yeah.
Holy shit. This is like the most... This is like not of a comic to be this aware of branding. This is like, you know, this is like the other side of it right here.
Yeah, I was trying to hit it from both sides. You got to be everything
now. What else
now.
do you have besides water?
I have shirts, and my wife.
Oh, you're wearing the shirt. Holy shit!
My wife made me this jacket. She got me this jacket.
You're like Larry the Cable Guy. You're wearing your own shit, man. This is crazy.
I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
It's probably not.
Yeah, if I'm actually hot now that we're talking about it. Now I have to take it off because I'm like, oh, geez, I'm like Larry the Cable Guy. And now I'm wearing plaid. Jesus, this is like Larry the Cable Guy.
That's crazy. You have your own water.
Yeah.
How do you do this? How do you put a thing on here?
They did it. That's one of their products they sell is like branded water you can get. So we just kind of collaborate.
And what do you do? What do you make this? You like put it through a purifier or something?
It's from.
Is this the most boring podcast so far of all time? I'm asking about how you make water.
It's from the Blue Spring Mountains in North Georgia. So it's from a spring.
It tastes good.
That's spring water. That'll be a good Fontis commercial.
Is anything not spring water? Like, is any of the water get not spring? Is Dasani shit, right?
Dasani. Any purified water is tap water.
Okay.
Straight up. And you'll even see on like Dasani, they have salt in it and they added minerals.
This is good water now that I really take it in.
I don't know how New York's water is.
You know, this is like a real small victory set when I'm savoring a fucking water after this set. Jesus.
I'm glad I left my show early to come see the end of that set.
Oh, God. Why? Because you could tell I was getting cranky on stage?
I was just excited to get here. I wanted to catch at least the end of it. I've seen you a couple times, and I knew a Wednesday at the Punchline, you know, in the side room of a diner.
Right.
I didn't know how it was going to go, so I wanted to see you in that environment.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's the diner connected to the club does not make for like a popping crowd. I don't think it's weird. At one point I said I feel like I'm gonna walk off set and someone's gonna put a piano wire around my neck, like in the fucking Sopranos or something. But yeah, it was. I mean, the diner's nice.
Yeah, we're sitting in the actual diner now doing this. But you go from South by Southwest to...
It was a wild few days. In South by Southwest, I did like a big theater last night, like a benefit show. And it was like a 2,700 seater. And the lineup was crazy. It was like Nick Offerman was hosting it. And then Gaffigan closed it. I went on before Gaffigan, and there was the girl from My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Rachel Bloom. Which I've never seen, but she was funny. She was good. I mean, it was a cool show.
In front of 2,700 people.
Lisa Traeger, yeah, it was fun.
And then now, back to reality.
I mean, yeah, that's how it goes, right? I mean, I've done, you know, I've opened for some big people who are like, you get to do those, you get a taste, and you're like, if once you believe that's your life, you're kind of losing, right? You gotta kind of just accept. Cause I've talked to those people. They're like, "Oh, have you ever flown first class? How do you go back?" It's like, well, you don't think I deserve this all the time.
No, okay. How long have you been doing comedy?
I would say close to 13 years.
Close to 13 years now. Yeah, I knew you'd open up for Attell.
Yeah.
Who else have you been able to work with?
Amy, Louie. A lot. I've opened for Jim Jeffries. Like, I mean, these are like comics who've done like theaters or arenas that I've opened with like big gigs.
Yeah,
you know, and those are like, yeah, you get a taste of what that fandom is like. Those people that go crazy for them, and they're great crowds because they're excited, as opposed to this crowd who was just drunk as shit. I was like, what am I performing for these fucking reptiles in the front row? Who were those Palm Beach weirdos? They were like Florida drunks.
But you're around the good audiences, but you're also around like amazing comedians. What have you learned from working with that level of talent?
You learn a lot from Mattel because he can't, like, he must just never stop thinking of jokes. He's just always in joke form, which like can't be the best existence ever, but it makes for a damn good comic. It's probably why he's such a pure comedian.
Yeah.
You learn a little from everyone. Like I've learned a lot from Amy. I've learned a lot from, she produced my special, so she helped me put it together and edit, and so yeah, you learn how to really. You learn different skills from different people. She was performing in arenas when I was opening for her, so I learned how to really kind of hold punchlines a little longer, and how to. I'd watch how she kind of conducted herself, and it's so yeah. I mean, as we were saying, like you perform in a big venue one night. I mean, I think I was opening for one night in a venue for like 14,000 people, and the next night I was in the Village for like 12 people, and you're like, well, that's how it goes. That's That's probably how it'll always be. There's some comfort to that, right? Where you're like, well, it'll always be that inconsistent.
At least it'll
always
barking.
Be that mercurial lifestyle. Yeah, I used to bark.
Don't bark anymore.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of comics started doing that. I did that for a long time. And that sucks. No one wants to hand out flyers, but it makes it a little sweeter when you see those guys out there barking. You're like, well, I used to do that. And some of them you've seen for years, and you're like, well, you should probably quit if you're still doing it. Like, I don't
barking for years.
Yeah, I've definitely seen some faces where I'm like, well, you can't be doing it. Once you barking for like 7 years, you got to just quit, or just like don't quit comedy, but quit barking at least.
And like, how do you get out of that life? As people get stuck.
I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it stinks for sure.
Because I remember I heard the story you said about Dan St. Germain, where the guy was like, just do it for 10 more minutes and you'll get on stage. He's like, nah.
Yeah, Dan's a masochist, man. I mean, that's like, there's a sickness to that where you're like, he was that close to getting the spot, especially early on when you would do anything for a spot, and he was like, nah, I'm good. And we're like, dude, we're doing open mics, But yeah, barking is not really a thing here, though, right?
No, man. Nobody. I feel like that's a New York thing for sure. I can raise that if you need to.
No, I can. I mean, I have hands. I could do it.
I was just I want you to be comfortable, Sam. I know you've been through a lot tonight.
I had a frustrating morning, man. I pulled an all-nighter last night before my flight because, I had a late show and I ended up going to a party, and then by the time I got back to my hotel, it was like 2, and then my flight's at 6 a.m. So it's like, what am I going to sleep for 40 minutes? So I end up I can't just fall right asleep. So I kind of just stayed up, conked out a little on the flight, made my manager make sure I have early check-in at this hotel. And they didn't. They were like, there's no rooms available. I had to wait for like 90 minutes in the lobby. And of course, I'm just being a dick. By the way, this airport stinks. This airport is the worst fucking airport.
It's the world's busiest airport.
It's horrible. Whenever there's a problem, it's at the Atlanta airport. Have you noticed that? It's always like the powers go down here, or like
totally crash. Yeah.
Yeah, it's happened a couple times. And then also, the walk to the Uber was like worse than the flight here. The walk from the terminal to get an Uber. It's
far. You need a flight to get to the Uber station.
You need something. Yeah, like I took anytime you land and you have to take another shuttle, you're like, that's another fucking trip. Yeah. That's not the flight was a trip. I can't do that. I hate that.
How were you rude to the hotel? You said
I wasn't rude. I was just like, you're powerless and you have nowhere for that frustration to go, so you're just kind of like internalizing it and just bulging with that, So I think she could just sense that, like, I was nice as I could. I was just like, I just want to sleep. I'm tired. And she's just like, and then of course I finally get to sleep in my room. I wasn't really rude. I was just kind of pouting, And then I finally get to sleep and the fucking fire alarm goes off. And I'm like,
my God.
I wanted to punch something, but there's nothing to punch, so you end up just going back to sleep.
Dude, well, thanks for doing this, man.
I know. Why am I doing this?
Why are you doing this?
Because I'm like Dan St. Germain. I'm a masochist. We all have that in us.
Yeah, I totally.
Well, I remember you asked me last time, and I was like, fuck. We shouldn't get it out that I'm a 2 Ask podcast get.
Well, some people are 3. Some people are a yes, and then they just don't show up. Or some people are a yes.
People
and then
I know.
You wait. The most memorable one, Mr. Metzger.
I waited. Well, Kurt's got other shit going on.
Yeah, I waited in his hotel lobby for about 90 minutes. waiting on
Fuck.
the interview. And I don't know why I stayed, but I was like, I'm here. Because, well, one, I didn't think it was going to be 90 minutes. She's like, yeah, I'm on my way down. And then like 20 minutes later, I was like, hey, what's up? He's like, just give me 10 minutes. And then it just kept going. It was literally like 90 minutes.
Damn.
Yeah, so I'm a masochist as well. I will sit through it.
Yeah, Kurt's a character. He's a fucking great comic.
He's a great comic, and he was working Laughing Skull all weekend. And like my first question to him, I was like, "Are you late to everything?" Because he was like late to some shows too, and he was like, "Yeah, my therapist says I have like some like compartmentalizing problem or something." And I was like,
I didn't know he was in therapy. That's good for him. I had no idea.
"Oh, maybe I just outed him. I don't know."
Oh,
But
I
that
don't
was-
know. He
that
doesn't
was-
seem like he hides a lot.
That was the most memorable one where I was just like sitting there, just like, "Oh, okay, so this is where I am."
Yeah.
But like you said, it's all the up and down. And it makes you appreciate it more.
I guess people say that. Is that true? Maybe it is. Maybe. I feel like my life was just great, and then there were like more subtle up and downs. I could deal with that too, though, because everyone's like, "Well, it's the up and downs." I'm like, "Yeah, but that's a roller coaster. I don't like roller coasters. I don't like that kind of up and downs." But that's what people say. It's like, well, you appreciate it more. I guess that's true, but then also, don't you feel like because I'm traveling so much, I feel I'm just in a constant state of irritation because so many things go wrong throughout the day, traveling, so many little things. I'm constantly like, oh, come on. I have to like take a deep breath and just, when I'm hungover, I'm extra irritable.
Or you pull all-nighters.
Yeah, but also it's like there was a party. I was like, what am I going to not go to the party and get 2 extra hours of sleep, you know? So... And then I had food truck chili, so I had like heartburn all morning too.
Oh.
I made a lot of mistakes.
Dude, a masochist.
Yeah.
And eat food truck chili.
Yeah, Gaffigan brought us to some party, some big movie party because he's in a movie there, and he was on the show, and he was like, and I see him in New York sometimes, but we never really hang, you know, because he's got a family and stuff. So he's always friendly, but I never. So I thought it'd be fun to hang with him. So and it was fun. We had a good time.
What is probably a question I always like to ask comedians on here, since we're on the lows, is I always ask comedians about like an epic bomb that they've had, whether it's like a story of getting booed on stage or just something you'll never forget. There's just epic failure.
Epic bombs. I mean, there's one I've told a bunch is like I used to work the door at this club called Broadway Comedy Club, and
yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, it's I just was getting heckled real bad, and this guy, like, we went back and forth a couple of times, and I remember he was like making fun of my pants, and I was like, and they were like shitty pants, but it was like, it's such a hack thing. It's like, look at your pants. Yeah. That was his line. I was like, yeah, they're probably bad. But we went back and forth one time, and he said a couple things that like triggered me, and I said something that must have really triggered him, I guess. I said something like, I was like, yeah, you're fucking garbage. I said something like, you're a garbage person or something, and that just set him off. And he got up. And all I heard when he got up was like, and I was like, oh, fuck. I knew he was going to spit on me.
Oh.
And he tried to get to the stage, and the waitresses all liked me there because I worked the door, so they were kind of barricading the stage. And I just heard, and it just right on my shirt, you know? And like terrible people have the best aim, you know? And he hit me right in the chest, and I guess it could have been worse, right? But from that distance, it was still impressive to make contact with the spit. And and then he and his girlfriend, she was humiliated, I could tell. But he was waiting out. He's like, I'm going to wait outside for you. He was so worked up. And this guy, Chris Murphy, was like, I'll walk you outside. And he was like, he's weaker than me. Chris Murphy can't do shit. He's like, it looks like he's a joke about looking like he's a redhead. He's a joke about looking like a pencil and his hair is the eraser or something. And it's like, and I'm like, that's my muscle. That's who's coming with me. But he was brave enough to come out with me, and he made sure I got home okay. He was a nice guy. He's always been a good dude.
How long into your career was that?
I don't know. That must have been like at least 8 years. No, maybe 10 years ago.
Oh, 10 years ago. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that was a while ago. But I definitely didn't handle it. Like the worst ones, you look back and you're like, why didn't you even handle it well?
Yeah, but you never know until after. In the moment, you're just like straight survival mode.
Yeah, with the crowd, I remember I tried to go back in the material after he spat on me, and I was like, well, that's not happening. Yeah. You know, I remember they were like, they were shaking. They were scared for me. And I think once they pity you, there's no turning it around. Like they pitied me, you know, I heard a woman like go like, "Oh," and I was like, "Yeah, there's no turning that around."
Oh,
yeah, there were so many awes in that set, like such a lost boy, and they just, once they're in that mind state, there's no coming back.
Well, you started in New York too, right?
Yeah,
That's where you started comedy.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's pretty. New York that's the mecca of comedy. So the fact you get to start there, that probably has to forge your funny even faster.
Yeah, it's weird. I guess it goes both ways because you do, but also like there's enough rooms that you can kind of. I guess you could get good quickly, but I feel like it took me a while to get noticed, which is a good thing. You know, like it took me a while to become who I wanted to be on stage, and like, you know, it's still a work in progress. You still want to improve, but when you start, people see you and they're like, oh, they could see you and be like, he's not funny, and they've made their mind up on you.
Yeah.
Or they could see you and be like, oh, he's been here for a while, he's paid his dues. So it works both ways, you know, like. But then there's those people like Hannibal Buress who just come to New York with this heat and they're already really funny, and there's it could work both ways, you know.
How long did it take you into your career before you felt like, oh, I'm starting to at least get the hang of this or start to sound like I want to sound?
It took a while. It was like there was like a few jokes. You're like, oh, that's like who I kind of am. You know. Okay. So there's a few of those jokes that were like what I liked and what I wanted to sound like, and it's like it definitely takes you a while to catch up to your taste in comedy. You're like, well, you're just doing like some weird impression of what you want to sound like. You're not you yet, you know. So it takes you a while to really, from a distance, like your act. Maybe like you're close enough to not, but you have to have some sort of delusion to stay in it that young early, you know, anyway. So you probably have similar delusion about your act, that you're not as bad as you think you are.
Yeah.
So that it keeps you in on a lot of levels. But yeah, it took me a while to be happy with it.
You said like 8-10 years? Like,
I'd say like 7 or 8. I remember I was down here and I won the festival down here. And
the Skull Fest.
And that's when I started to think that I had like a couple that I'm like, oh, I'm getting somewhere. It wasn't like, oh wow, my jokes are great. It was like, oh, I have a few that I think I'm on the right track. I remember even when I won it, I thought this guy Tom Simmons had a better set than me.
No,
so that's a weird feeling when you're like, well, I won, but and I you know, you don't usually feel that way because you get everything later than you think you deserve it. That's just how it goes in comedy. Like, so few comics. And the comics that pop off early usually stink, you know, because this is something that does take a long time to get good at. This is not. There's a couple exceptions, but it's something that does take so long that when you get it too early, it's usually a fluke. It's usually not because you put out a great special. It's because you got something else, like you on some TV show, and that's why you got it. So when you do actually, I don't think I did my first late night set till like 8.5 years in or something. So
was that Conan?
Yeah.
Was that your first? And then since you've done Colbert and Conan multiple times.
Yeah.
Any others? Is that?
I've done Conan, I think 4 times, and Colbert once.
Are those late night shows? Is that more about management to like get onto those?
I don't know, man. I really don't know. I think like he already knew and kind of liked me, the booker, I think. But but then like the first one I wasn't thrilled with, but he was happy with it, so he was like, yeah, we'll definitely have him back. I didn't like the crowd, so I thought the crowd in Conan used to be tough. Now they're way easier. But oh my God, there's so many late nights that I watch where I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? You know what, it bugs me a little bit? Dude. There's so many late night sets that I'm like, it's bad for comedy because they give it to the wrong young comics usually. They give it to some young comic who's got a little bit of heat instead of some young comic who's sludging away, who's really fucking funny.
Yeah. They
give it because like some manager is suffocating them and they're like, just give him a shot, he's ready. Instead of some comic who, you know, guys or girls or whatever who I've seen who are just crushing it, and then sometimes they get the break, and then also it's the mistake that everyone thinks it's going to be their fucking, you know, like this will get me.
Yeah,
once I get this, that's what everything is. Once I get this, I'll be all right. But that's how everything in life is, right? Once I get this, I'll be happy. Right. It's like no, you gotta find some joy in where you are, or you're fucked.
It seems like those late night sets are more just for like other comedians to be like, oh, I climbed that mountain. It doesn't seem like it really.
And also,
has
it's
an
just nice to
effect.
promote stuff. It's like nice.
Have the clip, yeah.
It's also just a fun thing to do, but yeah, it's. And by the way Colbert does it now, it's like they'll like group 5 together.
Yeah,
and it's like they don't even get the experience of being on like one particular show, which to me is kind of a bummer because that's my favorite part usually.
Yeah.
When I was on it, it was like all other shows where you get the whole experience, but now they're grouping like 5 together and just throwing them in there and airing it when they air it, which cutting it together, it's kind of a bummer.
So for the first time you performed, was that your manager that was reaching out to the booker, or the booker saw you live and was
No,
like,
my
hey,
manager
I'm
at the
interested?
time reached out and, you know, they liked the set, went back and forth a few times, and he was like, here's your date. So
What's amazing about your comedy, and it's all well-deserved how many times you've been on TV, and that your hour special's coming out this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, on Comedy Central, is the stuff you get away with, man.
thanks, man.
Is you have figured out how to walk the line. The topic may be a little off-putting, like on your most recent Conan set, you're talking about like sexual predators,
Right.
And how you open up by saying like it's a tough time to be a predator right now.
That's how I break the ice.
Yeah, that's
The first thing I said in the set is bad time to be a predator.
Yeah, and you take it into like the sports analogy. Like, how do you even evolve that joke into being ready for TV from just something you say in a club?
Because I guess I'm so fed up with the cutesy late night sets where every comic is trying to be adorable. It just fucking annoys me because it just doesn't. It's not genuine to me. There's something about it that's very false and put on. So, and then I guess maybe that's coupled with the fact that people don't want to laugh at a joke just based on the subject, like a word, as you said, like predator. It's like that's like a hard joke to make funny in that, given the constraints of a late night set.
Right.
So to me, that's like a challenge and it's exciting. It's like it's like almost like a math problem. You're like, how do I crack this code to make this work? And the fact that people don't want to laugh at a joke, I feel like I've won over someone that wouldn't have either ordinarily liked my comedy. I don't like comedy that's like just. It's funny. I was talking to a comic about this the other night, and he's a very successful comic, and he said, it used to be that like people would go to the middle of the country and they'd persuade them to laugh at stuff. It'd be like they'd win them over, and now it seems that they're like everyone has a brand. As I look at your water bottle, and no, but it's like everyone has a brand though, and it's like, oh, that's my guy. And it's like, that's my guy. But it used to be like you won them over. And there's something about that is more exciting to me than just having not that it's ever easy to kill. I don't want to diminish people's, efforts in those sets, but there is a type of comedy that's a little too easygoing for me. And it does nothing for me. It's like, it almost feels like they're kissing up to the audience, and it's like, no, I like it to be almost like a give and take. I like it to feel more like I like there to be awkward moments in the set when I'm doing, especially maybe not a late night set, but when I'm doing a long set, I did a set in South by, and I bombed a pretty offensive joke. It was brand new. I thought of it before I went on stage. I ran it by my friend and he laughed, and I said, all right, I'll try it, and it bombed so hard. And I just fucking doubled down on it. I kept going further because I was like, what the fuck do I have to lose? So a woman heckled me, went back. It was like playful. We went back and forth. We had like a fun back and forth. And I maybe found something there. And it's like sometimes when you take that risk and you bomb, you find something that's even richer, So maybe that's why the fact that the really agreeable premises that are really obvious, and like, I don't like comics going up there saying, I'm a nice guy. That's a lot of comics I see now. I'm a really good guy. And it's like, well, wasn't Aziz just doing that? It's like, so you're going to be, it just feels like anyone who goes up who announces they're good is not good to me. That's just in my experience. Anyone who's like, I'm a really trustworthy guy. It's like, well, now I don't trust you. Because you're like, because all the guys I always liked were like, they preface it with like, look, I'm no saint. Those are the people I trust, not the people that are like, I'm a great guy. I'm I'm rambling a little here, but
No,
the point
it's
is
all on point.
The
It's all on
point.
brand.
The point is, I guess, I did a joke right after the Parkland shooting, and it was about these people. It didn't hit. It bombed pretty hard in St. Louis. I was in St. Louis that weekend, and I said, it's like these people that believe in crisis actors. Those people who they think these kids aren't real kids. They think they were hired by the far left to be like actors. And like, so I said, does that mean they also believe in like crisis actor agents? Like there's some guy on the phone. He's like, this girl's great. She's been in Sandy Hook. She's been in, she's going to be a star. You got to use her. So I I kept doubling down on it, and I kept going further, and it kept bombing further and further. And I kind of like, and it bombed so hard that I kind of was like, to me, it's funny though. I know I feel like there's something crackable there. And like, I don't know. I guess the comics I always liked in some way. What do I have to gain if it's just something we all agree on to begin with? If it's something we all, not that should be your whole hour, because that would probably feel weighty, but if we're just saying like, yeah, this is bad, shootings are bad, it's like, well, no fucking shit, dude. I see these people writing like it's like they're virtue signaling all the time. Their jokes are like, this needs to stop, and I'm like, this is a fucking comedy club, dude. What, you're just announcing like you're some, like you're some political figure, like shootings need to stop. We all did. I really get so sick of like I did that joke tonight about the baby getting eaten by the alligator at Disney.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's basically what that woman in the crowd was to me, who got offended, where she was like, that's not okay. And I'm like, well, obviously I'm not fucking pro babies getting eaten by alligators. But if you don't like dig for a joke, there's,
right.
I guess they're just like, well, that's never funny. I'm like, well, yeah, to you, but like other people can find funny shit. It's weird that like when something's sensitive to someone in particular, they're like, I'm out. I'm not laughing, but they laugh the whole rest of the show. It's just you didn't like that one thing. I was a comedian the whole fucking rest of the show, and all of a sudden now it's not comedy anymore.
How do you know when you're on to a joke? Because a lot of times when you tell a joke the first time and it bombs, sometimes you abandon them. You're like, oh, never mind. And other times, is there like, if somebody gets offended, you're like, okay, I'm on to something there because it's an
no, because
reaction.
it's not like I don't want the emotional reaction always. I just want I want something. I want some reaction. If it's just, I love a silly joke. I love like just a silly plain joke, dude. I love watching Gaffigan or Regan or those guys.
Yeah.
But like, I don't, you're on just because it's going to get something. It's going to get something, some response. Like you can feel it.
Okay.
It's like I did a new joke tonight that got something. It's not like a perfect joke, but there's something there about like the Queer Eye guys, about how they're like, about the firehouse they went to, and this isn't done yet, but like the idea about they were like, the firemen were all like, we weren't really okay with the gay guys, but then, we got to know them. And it's like, well, no, they just gave you a bunch of free shit. They gave you like $100,000. Like, that's not what all gay men are like, Yeah. Like, you're going to be in for like a bad awakening if they're just like, do you like this guy Mateo? And it's like, he's all right. He didn't renovate my kitchen, know?
Right.
It's like, but that's what. And like I felt a laugh there, so I was like, oh, there's something to play with there. It's not done, but there's like a premise to play with, and you just know, you just are like, there's something here that feels, but then also, there's some that bombs so hard, and you're like, well, that may never make it on stage again.
Right.
It's tough because they were so drunk early on. I couldn't really get a sense of like silence of where to pause the way I wanted to.
When you take a premise to the stage, how thought out is it? Because you've said the paper is the gym, and like the stage is the game. So
did I say that?
Yeah, in researching you, I heard you say that in an interview.
Wow. Okay.
So are you big on pen to paper?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess sometimes I talk out of my ass.
You just wanted to sound like smart in that moment.
Maybe.
The paper is the gym, man.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. So yeah, the paper is the gym. Yeah, that's something I could have said. Yeah, because I like coming up with ideas. I like writing shit out. I also don't like the comics that just completely go up there and bullshit, and just waste your time. But
yeah.
I also like the more I do it, the less written it is, I think now, because I also like to just experiment a little myself, as long as I know how it ends. But I have this problem now. I have all these jokes that are like 2/3 done. Like the first 2 parts are funny, but they don't have an ending that's strong enough to really warrant me to continue telling them. So,
because I did notice even on like your Conan sets, your jokes, they will have that arc that it like ends on applause. It like crescendos into an applause.
Yeah, you work them out till they're ready for that, you know? And also it's like you learn that those sets are different from normal sets. The crowd, not all the crowds want to applaud, but some of them do. So you just know, you give them just an extra half second to see if they're going to clap. And if not, you just kind of keep cruising. But, I mean, they usually set you up to do well. The only thing about late night sets is, I mean, if you flub a line, you flub a line, you know, as opposed to like a special, they'll let you retake it. Mm-hmm. So if I flub a line in a special, I get to redo that. In a late night set, that flub could be there forever. So
I just saw. Did you see Mark Norman's?
Yeah.
At the dismount, he like flubs a word.
He flubbed it. I saw that. Yeah. I don't want to bring that up. I knew he wouldn't be happy about that.
I figured he.
The
would
rest of the set was good though.
It was a killer set. You just on the dismount, you're ramping up and then get excited.
Yeah, I'm sure that was all he was thinking about. Yeah. I know him well enough that I'm sure he's like, God fucking.
But it's cool to know at every level. I mean, we all still like struggle with the same things, regardless of how many times you've done something.
Totally, yeah. I mean, those sets are always stressful because of that. But I just talk myself into thinking the sets are meaningless before I go on every time.
Like you actually do self-talk?
No, I just in my head I'm like, this set means nothing. Just go have fun, and I usually do better because I just. The looser you feel, the better you are. I mean, one of the sets I was kind of drunk for. I mean, and it's actually my best set. It's the one where I was in the red flannel on Conan. I was like, that's probably the hardest I killed on any set. I wasn't drunk, but I had a couple whiskeys, and I was like, not sober. I was loose and feeling good, and I'm like, I knew not to get hooked on that, but because that's a dangerous game to play. That's like that Jackie Chan, Legend of the Drunken Master shit. One time you're gonna fall on your face. I mean, what the fuck was I thinking?
How meticulous is the prep for those sets? How often?
For Conan?
Yeah.
I have a good enough relationship now that he's kind of like, he lets me play with it a little. The first one was a little more meticulous, but
like word for word.
Yeah. But now I'm like, can I say fuck? And he's like, I'd rather you didn't. See if you can do it without saying fuck. Like, I think it's better. And his defensive, it's usually on the money, like, because they can't, it's not like a cable fuck. It's like a regular fuck where I think they just don't let you hear the word at all.
Okay.
Even though it is on cable, but it's late. I don't know the rules, whatever. But, so it's better to not curse in those sets. But, sometimes I don't know if they're helping. Like, I have no idea what's helping and what's not helping. I think some weekends people come out for them, and then other weekends they don't. So I don't know.
How specific is your performance piece? Because it seems like even just to go back to the Predator joke, and how you end it talking about the Predators and the Nashville Predators and their name, the hockey team, and then at the very end of the joke you say, I don't remember the last line, but you do like this hand gesture with it. Does it come down to that specific?
No, definitely not.
The hand gesture?
Definitely not. I think I'm just thinking, are you sure you haven't moved your hand in a while?
Oh, okay.
I think that's what it is.
But I look at comedy under the microscope of like, oh, he raised his eyebrow there. Oh, he moved his hand here.
That's not
all
me.
Super choreographed.
That's not me, but that's, if I were a better comic, that would probably be me. That's something that you probably should think about. But no, I'm just thinking like, don't flub a word. Don't just nail the delivery. For me, comedy is very. It's visual, but it's also like the sound of comedy is so important to me. Like I always thought, like I listened to so many albums growing up of comedy, so like the way you deliver a punchline was always important to me. The way you kind of, as you say, a lot of the jokes end in applause. Well, that's a lot about how you, I think, carry your voice too. You know that you know how to just say the punchline the right way. You have like a lot of comics, they have a way they say a punchline. You know, that's like their almost like they have like their punchline voice, and
it's like a cue almost.
It is, yeah. It's very manipulative. Now that we're talking about it, no, but it's yeah. You almost like once they know you, they know what you're going for. But I mean, look, it's got to be funny. They're not going to laugh. They're not just going to laugh at a shitty voice, you know?
So you have an actual punchline voice at this point?
Not that I'm aware of, really, but like, I think people are like, I mean, you know, Gaffigan's voice gets a little like lower when he, you know, Regan, you know, certain guys have like
they deliver it, they'll go down with it.
Yeah, or some guys go up. Gaffigan goes up. You know, so
there's a music to it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to nerd out a little bit on the comedy side, especially with you, because you like did an independent study at NYU about it was like ancient Greek comedy, right?
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Like, what did that reveal to you about comedy?
That it's the same themes going back like 4,000 BC. You know, that it's like it's the same shit forever. So it's funny. It's like there've always been people that are like, you can't say that. There've always been those people. There've always been. It's always been kind of like a reflection of the time they were living in. Like if there was a war or something, I think it reflected that. There've always been fart jokes. There's always been dick jokes. There's always been every type of joke that people find offensive now. They've been doing it forever. You know, it's almost like when you look at old comedy, it's like the way you look at like a patient if you're a therapist, where we're like, how did people think it's going to be so unique? But it's like, no, we're all none of us are that unique. We all have, there's like 8 different types of people. We all fall, that's like what comedy is. There's like 8 different types of comedies, and they've all been going on for pretty much a long time. There's a girl sometimes that a guy wants to be with. Sex plays a big role. One of the ones I remember, I think was called Lysistrata, was one where like, to end the war, none of the women would fuck the guys. That's how they ended the war. They're like, we won't fuck you anymore. And it's like kind of interesting because it's like, well, it's like it shows the power of the women.
Yeah.
Shows that like sex has always been a thing in comedy. And it's a pretty funny premise. I mean, alone, if you pitch that now to like a comedy person, they'd be like, oh, that's funny. You know, so it shows you that like if a funny idea is funny, it just kind of works in a sentence, you know?
Yeah, comedy is timeless in the sense that Chaplin still carries today. Like, he would still be funny today, as opposed to, like, just a drama in the early 1900s would probably just be boring now.
Well, it depends, right? I mean, some of it's still some of it's just revamped Shakespeare, right? Like, some of the movies that you see now, you're like, well, that's basically just a Shakespeare story.
Oh, yeah, if you're following themes and things,
right.
Too, yeah.
But I know what you mean. Like in tone, you mean, right? Mm-hmm. Like sometimes, like you see a movie from the 40s, and you're like, you have to kind of put it in that time capsule because you're like, well, people don't talk like this. They don't.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, those are my favorite movies usually. Those like 40s noirs, or because it is like a language, the way like comedy is a language. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like its own thing.
You talk about comedy being like math too, and putting you said cracking the code. Almost. Yeah,
it's like a formula. I mean, that's just me being an idiot because I'm terrible at math.
Well, don't backtrack now.
But I think it's like, there's almost like I guess the reason I say math is because when it's solved, you know it's solved. You know what I mean? Like with a formula, you're like, well, that's the formula. That's like you need the exact word sometimes. Like sometimes I just have a word. I'm like, without that word, the joke doesn't work. It's kind of interesting. Like I remember I had a joke where I said, a teacher said to me, I made up that I was molested in a class as a joke. I thought I would get a laugh.
Wow.
I thought I would get a laugh, and I didn't get a laugh. So I was in a class where the teacher, she called to me, and I raised my hand. I was in like 7th grade. She was talking about testicular exams, and I said, one time my doctor like kept his hand down there and he played with my penis, and no one laughed, and it was like meant to be funny, but it wasn't funny. It was just no joke. I just said someone molested me. So in the joke, I remember I said something along the lines of like her saying, well, is that real? And like, this was my out, but instead I doubled down. I said, instead of like bailing, I said, I decided to incriminate a pediatrician. I said, and for whatever reason, incriminate a pediatrician, so much funnier than said a doctor fucked me or something, or said a doctor touched me. Mm-hmm. It's so much funnier because it's like, I don't know, it's like the sound, it's like the perfect words. So it was like, in that way, I mean, it's like a formula where it's like, there's like a rhythm, And like as you do comedy more, someone who's really good with words is Nick DiPaolo. He always uses like the right word in a joke. You know, he's good with like sounds and words. You're like, oh, that sounded really funny. Mm-hmm. You know, like I remember he had a joke where he's like, saw a homeless guy sleeping, and the guy's like sleeping like a baby. He's like, I got a $800 waterbed at home. Meanwhile, this guy's sleeping on a Heineken or something about the way he said Heineken.
Right.
There's like a funny sound to it, just like it's like the right amount of syllables, and it's like, man, we're getting geeky with comedy here, but like there is a formula, and like once you figure out certain words that work or certain rhythms that work, you can't be too predictable because it's got to work. And there's no absolute code, but like once you get good at it, you just get better at those types of codes.
Gotcha.
So you just work in a scale.
So you'll say a joke and then be like, there's potential, but there's a better word, and you'll almost brainstorm words.
Yeah.
Like write down, just list a bunch of words.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
I mean, not like there's like some cheat sheet, but it's like you have to find them yourself.
You have to find the word, of course. Yeah.
But there's like, there's definitely certain words that make me laugh, always. And it's funny because you can't go too. Sometimes blunt is funnier instead of like some people think you need to be like sometimes I'll tell my mom a joke and she'll say some word that's maybe a smarter word, but it just sounds too written. And I'm like, well, you got to be talking up there. You can't. This would work in a short story version of the joke, but in the joke, I can't use the word you just said.
Is she thrilled? Does she like your brand of comedy?
I don't know. I make her laugh as her son. I don't know if she likes. I mean, there's things she likes about it. She didn't like my last Conan set. She told me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. You're successful. I mean, you're professional.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. Around. Yeah, I was. I mean, I'll defend the set. It's not for everybody. Look, it was. I guess the set, as far as like, it's not like a mom set. I did like a few jokes about predators in Hollywood, and then I did a joke about how I wear condoms. I did a joke. I mean, I did jokes where I'm like, which everything. She should be happy about the condom thing. That's a good thing that I'm working on.
That you were willing to wear it.
Yeah, but it was a set where you're like, maybe it's just things you don't want to think. Like, I wouldn't want to hear jokes about my mom having sex.
Yeah, that's true. And people not in comedy don't look at it like, oh, he got a laugh off that. That's very impressive. They're like, I can't believe he said that.
Right, yeah, people close to you. Yeah, well, look, I have other people close to me who are like, I don't like that you said that joke, you know, whether it be like, you know, whoever, but certain people, certain things are just for you and that person, and as comics, we're like, well, we have that sense of entitlement. Well, this is my life. I'm allowed to express myself. Right. You forget about other people, and look, I've been in other people's acts, and it doesn't thrill me, but I kind of just, like, it's part of what you signed up for, whether or not you signed up for it by knowing those people you signed up for it.
She's like, I sent you to this college prep school and now you're doing comedy.
But I think that's like a joke that I've heard people make, and I don't think that's true. Like, I've heard people be like, I went to Harvard and now I'm a comedian. It's like, and I've heard it from people who've had like good writing jobs, and like, I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, there are people who go to Harvard and are fucking broke. I mean, who gives a shit? I mean, it's a school. And then there's also people that go to Harvard that are fucking not smart. They're book smart, but if you talk to them, they're fucking morons. So, and then there's people that are not college educated. Colin Quinn is not college educated. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met. You know, so I mean, people place too much importance on I won't just say academic education, because there's other types of intelligence, I think, but you know, on colleges and universities and things like that, it's not everything, and it's overrated. I mean, I'm fortunate to have gone to the place I went to, but I also, like, I think there's value on other types of education. So, yeah, no, I don't think that's the case. I think she thinks that I'm a success to her. I mean, I make a living at what I like to do, and I think there was a period where they were nervous, but now I think, last year was a good year. I got nominated for an Emmy on my TV show. I got an hour special recorded. I worked the road almost every weekend as a headliner, and I toured with some cool people, you know, so it was a productive year. So I think there were years where I felt more that about myself, where I was like, I don't feel, and I still feel that way. I always feel that, like, when I break down and say, oh, that all sounds cool, but it's not. It's such a slow build that when you say all those things at once, it sounds cool, but it's such a slow build that I'm frustrated with where I am still, because everything takes so much fucking longer than it should.
Right.
Everything. I've been working on a TV show for so fucking long. It's just working with these people. It's exhausting. The special I taped in December, it's not going to come out to the fall. I mean, it's excruciating. It's excruciating. Like, they're good problems to have. They're also, to me, still problems. So.
Yeah, my hour special isn't coming out for a while, and then my TV show.
But you know what? I'm in a competitive bracket of headlining clubs, and you want to get that bump on the road, so people want you back. It's not like it's just one thing. It's like, no, I need that bump. I need. It will help me secure more dates. It'll help me get more fans. It'll help me parlay this into this. I mean, people say things like, well, you're going to make it at some point. I'm like, yeah, well, these other years will be way more fucking enjoyable on the way. You know what I mean? Like, I was talking to Roy Wood Jr. about it the other day, the comic, and he was saying, was telling me, I was talking about, hey, your success later, it's taken you a while, and he's such a real comic. I think he's such a great comic.
Amazing.
But he's like, yeah, man, I really haven't been able to. Like, when you have success later, you don't really get to enjoy success that long. That's just how he put it. And I was like, that's a good way to put it. I mean, it's like, he's right. I mean, it's a shorter part of your life. But then there's people that blow up super early, as we talked about earlier on this podcast. They have all this hype early on, and they just fizzle right the fuck out. The comics like Gaffigan and Louis have said to me that, like, the way you want to succeed in this is to have that slow build, but also that's what both of them have. So sometimes you're like, are you just saying what you did?
Right.
But I think they are right. But there was a part of me that's like, fuck, it took Louis so long. It took Gaffigan so long, but here they are. So
and you have milestones along the way. So it's really cool to catch you at this moment in your career, to where you have stuff coming up in the future, and you've just had some great success. So, and the fact, dude, you're willing to sit down and do this after pulling an all-nighter and then having to get up early tomorrow to travel out again after doing this show at the Punchline in front of drunk people.
They were fucking drunk, dude. I deserve better. I really do. That's the thing. I was like, it's funny where she groaned at one of the things I said, and I was like, no, you're mistaken. I have a high self. I think I deserve better than you. Like that's the funny thing is when they do the aw, and I'm like, no, I think I deserve a smarter crowd. I think you're a fucking idiot. Like that's the whole thing. That woman was such a drunk. She came into my green room and wouldn't fucking go away. I was like, what do you think? So I have to perform for someone who doesn't know the boundaries that you shouldn't go into someone's private space where they're preparing for a show. She thinks it's okay there, and that's the level of awareness I'm performing for.
After 2,700 people the night before.
But that's just how it goes, right? That's how it always is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this career is always going to be. It's like, and look, you got to be grateful. I think you got to be grateful for the good, and then just hope that there's not too much bad. I mean, I could see this being a good club. It just tonight they were not my favorite type of crowd. There were some people that were really good in there.
Yeah, and they
had energy at least,
It's a great club, but this is a Wednesday night, and people came to get drunk, I guess it sounds like. But
yeah, it's tough because I like getting drunk too, but the more I realize, I'm like, I'm a better drunk than I give myself credit for. I'm really not that bad a drunk. It's like, who are these fucking 60-plus-year-olds who are still drinking like this?
Yeah.
What is the inside of their body like?
I don't know, but they're still alive, so they're doing something right, I guess.
This guy just grilled us on the way out, too. You see that?
Nah, but we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I appreciate you taking the time to do this, man.
Yeah,
and
no problem, man.
Before we get out of here, is there anything else you want the world to know?
I don't know. When does this come out?
I may release this one this week, actually. I'm pretty jazzed about it.
Yeah, I hope I probably made no sense for a few of these. I'm pretty sleep deprived right now. I'm sure I rambled a little too much on this one.
You did great, buddy.
I don't know. I got a podcast called Keeping Joe with Phil Hanley and Joe Mackey. The last one that came out with John Laster is one of my favorite episodes. It's really good. Talked a lot about his addiction, and he was really open and great. And then the one that comes out next week with Alan Havey is another one of my favorites. Alan Havey, who's, been around forever.
Yeah.
Had his own show on MTV like back in the day. Comedy Central, I think, too. was a big character on Mad Men, which was one of my all-time favorite shows. He's been on Seinfeld. He's the man. I love Alan Havey. So he's so good on the show. Those are two of my favorite episodes. So so you'll probably like those. And yeah, and the hour special, probably the fall, but who the fuck knows? Maybe 2027 will be my hour special. Hopefully the fall.
You almost like don't believe anything until after it happens, right?
I feel like they could call me and be like, it's coming out tomorrow. I'm like, wait a second. I need a PR person or something. But like, no, it's going to come out in like, I think the fall. And, you know, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure people see it. I know it's like tough to promote cable these days, but like, I think we'll hopefully get enough of it online that people like, I know some people blew up by getting just enough clips online. I think like my plan is to get enough YouTube clips up there from the special that it's like almost like late night sets that people can share, you know? So that's my plan. I think they seemed receptive, so we'll see. And I think I'm really proud of this special. I think it's the best thing I've ever done. So, and even the opening is really funny. It's a cool sketch opening.
Oh, you did a sketch opening?
That's awesome. I'll show you after this.
That's awesome. Well, Sam Morril, thanks for being on Hot Breath.
Thanks for having me. It was fun talking to you. I'll show it to you if I have it. It's pretty funny. Hot Breath.